So infrastructure is definitely the most important issue, guys. It is the answer to all of our other problems. Here's why. Once you fix infrastructure, you get more investment into the community. Our property values go up, more money, more taxpayer money to pay for other things. To pay for schools, to pay for in the environment, and to pay for all the protections that we want. Infrastructure has to be, we have to have priorities, okay? I might be one of the only ones up here who is a fiscally responsible state. And that's not a Republican term, don't let them steal our word. Democrats are fiscally responsible too. We are a fiscally responsible state. We can't spend money in too many crazy places, and Virginia's been balancing our budget for a long time now. So infrastructure is our most important priority, and what we need to do there is 40% of the commuters in Northern Virginia are federal government employees. 40% of the commuters, okay? So guess what? The federal government has invested interest in fixing some of the problems that they've created. We need to increase the VRE, the metro, but also highways. Now, if you think that adding turn lanes and traffic lights and some of the stuff that my other candidates said, they're great ideas. These are things that local municipalities control. And if you fix one stoplight, you fix one turn lane, that is not going to fix the problem. What we need to do is we need to go after the new developers, housing developers, hotels, all the new businesses that are coming in. We've decreased the burden on these guys to set up their new organizations. If you're going to build a hotel down a dirt road, guess what? You need to pay for that road that comes there. It needs to be a 2-lane road, a 3-lane road, for whatever your thing's going to support. If you're building a housing development, you need to provide the infrastructure that's going to go to that housing development. And we've let these guys skate for too long. Even last year, Proffers was passed. Only people that voted against it was the Northern Virginia people. 29-8 in the Senate. 29-8 voted to restrict what we can ask new developers to pay for in our community. That's ridiculous. Yeah. That needs to go right away. We need to have local legislators and local politicians tell the new housing developers, new developers who come in exactly what they need to be charged to support their group. They're not allowed to charge to improve schools now. So if you want to build a housing development, guess what? You don't got to pay for the schools that goes there. But all the kids from your housing development are going to that school. So this happened last year. We're going backwards. We're increasing the problem. So we need to put a huge tax percentage on all new developers to stop it where it is right now until we have a plan in place to fix what we have already set up. We're like a hermit crab. We outgrew our shell. We need to get a bigger shell. We need to focus our budget on infrastructure right now. Right now there's a board. It's the Commonwealth Transportation Board. 17 members. 1 member from Northern Virginia. 1 member from Northern Virginia. So right now they have called the SMART scale. And basically what it says is it goes based off of like traffic and things like that. But it's voted on by that board. So that board, which is appointed by the governor, we need to tell whoever it's going to be Tom or Ralph, I hope. It will. We need to tell them that Northern Virginia needs increased representation. We have a third of the population, we need increased representation in that board. Metro, we need to expand. We need to expand the line to Centerville, Manassas, and Gainesville. This is 2025, this is 2050. But look, if they would have said that before, it would have already been here now. We need to invest in this. In the meantime, rapid bus transit, we need to make this a reality. We need to get people into town. And the same thing with the metro. It doesn't necessarily need to go under the river right away in the tunnel into DC. It can start off going just into Northern Virginia and moving people around Northern Virginia. But infrastructure is our most important thing, guys. Any one of us who votes for it, we need to be able to get. We're not being productive sitting in traffic all day. Okay? Thank you.
It's Donald Trump. Or at least that's what I'm hearing on the doors, actually. And that is a huge concern because people have uncertainty and they're worried. I think the greatest problem in District 13 is the lack of dedication and leadership in Bob Marshall. If Bob was doing his job, we wouldn't have as many problems as we have here in the district. So you want to talk about transportation, what has Bob done for Route 28 if you're on the east side? Because that's definitely a concern. You can't get home for dinner. You're stuck. You're sitting in traffic. You're missing bedtime stories with the kids, right? If you're on the west end, the Amazon data center's here. People are losing their property rights. A big corporation is going to receive the benefits And the little guy is getting the shaft here. And where's Bob been? What's he been doing? You know, on the federal level, we're having an assault that is occurring on our public school system. And look at our schools here in the county. They're overcrowded. What has Bob done to address the overcrowding? Absolutely nothing. He's the Donald Trump of District 13, and I'm hearing on the doors, and I think that's our biggest problem here. We need to replace Bob come November.
I'm going to tie in what both of them just said, and then I want to explain to you my experience in handling both. Defeating Delegate Marshall is the biggest political priority that we have in the 13th district, because when 68 of his last 71 bills have failed, when 180 of his last 192 bills have failed since 2012, the first full year after redistricting, that affects the people of the 13th district. That affects Jeanette Rishel, when she, as the mayor of Manassas Park, needs a legislator to carry the city's legislative priorities from the governing body. This affects Miriam, this affects Hector, and the way that you guys do your jobs on the Manassas Park governing body. When Delegate Marshall cannot pass legislation effectively, our localities suffer here in the 13th district. Regarding the data center, I was the reporter for the Gainesville Times on September 10th, 2014, who outed Amazon as the owner of that data center when Dominion officials refused to do so, because as an investigative reporter, I'm the one who pulled the documents from the planning office and said that this is the address right here that these power lines are supposed to terminate at, and they are the same exact address as this property that is owned by VA Data Inc., which is a legal subsidiary of Amazon. I pulled the documents, and because we put that story out on the front page and on the jump page afterward, we were able to get that message out when Dominion, Virginia power officials refused to acknowledge the reality that was in public documents. That is a problem. Transparency is a giant issue when we're dealing with utilities and when we're dealing with residential development. I was the first candidate in this race who pledged never to take any campaign contribution from Dominion Virginia Power, either as a candidate or an incumbent. And I made that pledge before Activate Virginia's pledge was even a pledge. Why? Because I've covered the power line issues in Haymarket and Gainesville, not just in 2014, but all the way back in 2006 when they wanted to build giant power towers that would have reflected off of Silver Lake in Haymarket, the gem of Prince William County. I was there on the ground at the Toll Brothers rededication of that. Regarding proffers, I covered proffer developments. I covered these things for 9 years, 2 months, and 2 weeks. I can tell you in detail how our proffer system works and the failings and the benefits of it. Benefits is when roads like Route 15 are widened just south of Route 55 and north of Route 55. The failings will happen when Toll Brothers, for example, was building up Dominion Valley, and they had a trigger in their proffer for when they would connect Waverly Farm Road to Route 15. Well, guess what? It took years for that quarter-mile stretch of road to be completed and open to the public, while Gravely Elementary School sat right there and the buses could not access Route 15 directly from Waverly. That is a giant problem. So I spent my career in Prince William County from 2006 to 2015 covering your quality of life issues, whether it was Route 28 on the east, whether it was the Bi-County Parkway in the central, and by the way, I'm the only candidate on this race who adamantly opposes the Bi-County Parkway. Like I said before, Delegate Marshall said 25 years to kill it, I'll get it done. And on the western half, I was the reporter who stood up to Dominion in 2006 and 2007. I did it again in 2014. I have an 11-year history of being a pain in the butt to Dominion Virginia Power, and I plan to continue that legacy in the Virginia General Assembly. Thank you.
Friends, I think the issue is a little larger. Citing my values and my background from home as a business owner, I've always been taught to look for the central issue in multiple issues and how to connect them and think of everything as a macro versus micro issue. And I think the number one issue to fix a lot of things, if not everything, is the prioritization in the budget of the entire state. It is reprioritizing our budget that's going to solve our problems. Right now, we don't spend enough money on things that are going to give us a better return on that investment. We spend a lot of money on things that will not. For example, the priority for our budget is not to relieve our towns and cities for unfunded mandates. Our priority in the state budget, been balanced under many, many Democratic governors, which we are all of us are proud of. But I also see that, let's take this back to a family level. Let's think of Virginia's General Assembly and our budget as a family's budget of running a house, right? When you come exactly even to whatever you make, to whatever you're spending, what's your first thought after that? My first thought is, how do I increase what I'm spending? How do I increase what I'm making? Because what I'm spending right now is what I need to spend. That is a need. That is a necessary thing that I have to do. I cannot cut my spending. I have to leave it where it's at. But I have to make more than what I'm spending, so I can have a surplus, so I can use that money somewhere else, to go get barbecue, for example. So what I would say is Virginia needs to generate revenue-generating bills. We need to focus on a surplus budget so we can use that money on the issues that we've spoken about today, right? One thing in particular is some things that I want to wonder about. No candidate's perfect. No candidate ever knows the issues of every single thing, and if we claim to do so, I humbly submit we would be wrong. There are certain questions that I, as a resident of Gainesville and Northern Virginia, want to ask and want to wonder about, not only for myself, but for your drive home. Does Northern Virginia have to always be at the Nova versus Rova of rest of Virginia versus Northern Virginia? Will we always have to think about, we are getting, about 38 cents on every dollar we send down to Richmond? Will we always have this conversation? Will we always have this type of, and I want to call it that, discrimination between the rest of Virginia and Northern Virginia? If so, why? I don't have the answers, but these are things that we have to ponder about. Will Gainesville, Manassas, Briscoe, and Haymarket residents always have to go through Fairfax County to get to the airport and the jobs in Herndon and Reston? If so, why? There are many questions, there are many answers, but I submit to you that the main priority of mine will be reprioritizing the budget and making sure that the 13th is a priority.